You know that moment when you're scrolling through your feed and you see someone your age just casually bought a rental property or started their third business? And you're sitting there thinking, what am I missing? We have the same internet. We see the same opportunities. Why can I barely save $3,000 while they're building actual wealth? Here's the thing. It's not about working harder. It's not about some secret course they bought. It's about perception. They see connections where you see separate events. They see systems where you see individual tasks. And that one shift in how they process reality, that's worth more than any degree or certification you could ever get. I'm Fred, and I spend way too much time breaking down exactly how wealthy people think so you don't have to. And what I've found is this. Most people are functionally blind to the patterns that create wealth. Not because they're lazy or stupid, but because they were literally never taught to see what systems thinkers see. Stick with me for the next few minutes because I'm going to show you exactly what billionaires are looking at that you currently cannot see. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Your brain will start processing business, money, and opportunities in a completely different way. This is in theory. This is the actual mechanical difference between people who build wealth and people who stay stuck. Let me ask you something. When you think about wealth, what do you see? A number in a bank account? A lifestyle? Because here's what we're actually dealing with. Wealth isn't built by individual actions. It's built by understanding how things connect, how outputs feed back into inputs, and how small advantages compound into massive gaps. Ready to see what you've been missing? Most people are functionally blind to the patterns that create wealth. You're not stupid. You literally cannot see what systems thinkers see. Why does this blindness persist? Because you were never taught to look for connections. Your education system taught you to memorize isolated facts. History happened in one class. Math happened in another. Science was completely separate. Everything lived in its own compartment. That training created your current perception problem. The opposite of a systems thinker is a component thinker. That's you right now. A component thinker sees one piece frozen in time without understanding how it fits into a larger whole. And that's killing you. Here's what happens when you think in components. You make a change in your marketing and wonder why sales don't improve. You cut costs in one department and can't figure out why productivity collapsed across the entire company. You focus on one metric and watch your overall business deteriorate. You're solving problems that create new problems. You're optimizing individual pieces while the whole machine breaks down. Becoming a systems thinker is like putting on glasses after being blind your entire life. Successful people see the world as a web of relationships, not a collection of separate pieces. When they look at a business, they don't see marketing, sales, product, and support as different things. They see one interconnected system where each part influences every other part. Change one thing and ripples spread everywhere. Systems thinking can be learned. It's a mental framework you adopt by asking the right questions about inputs, outputs, processes, feedback, and environment. Those 5 elements. That's it. Once you train yourself to ask these questions habitually, your perception shifts permanently. You start seeing cause and effect chains that stretch across time. You start noticing feedback loops before they spiral out of control. You start predicting second-order and third-order consequences that blindside of everyone else. This is why billionaires are always one step ahead. They just see a different game board. Every system has 3 core elements: inputs, processes, and outputs. Inputs are what you put in. Processes are how those inputs get transformed. Outputs are what comes out at the other end. Here's what you're missing. Outputs are the only thing that matters. If your outputs are wrong, nothing else matters. You can have the best intentions, the hardest work ethic, the most sophisticated processes in the world, but if your outputs are wrong, you're failing. Period. The environment influences every system from the outside. Competition, market conditions, and cultural shifts all affect performance. And here's what nobody tells you. The same inputs and processes can produce completely different outputs in different environments. What works in a boom fails in a recession. What works with no competition fails when competitors arrive. What works at small scale fails at large scale. You have to account for environmental factors or you'll be blindsided. Understanding this structure gives you diagnostic superpowers. If your outputs are poor, trace backward. Is it bad inputs, broken processes, negative environmental factors, destructive feedback loops? Most people guess randomly. They make changes based on intuition or desperation. They try different things hoping something works. Systems thinkers diagnose systematically. They trace the flow from output back through process to input. They identify exactly where the breakdown occurs. Then they fix that specific point instead of making random changes that might make things worse. The same framework applies to nature, economics, health, relationships, and business without exception. This is the framework billionaires use to analyze everything. Once you see it everywhere. Feedback is when outputs affect inputs. The result circles back to influence what goes into that same system, creating self-reinforcing cycles. And once you understand this mechanism, you understand why wealth concentrates so dramatically. The crowd-forming phenomenon demonstrates this perfectly. One person dancing attracts another, which attracts more, which attracts even more. The output feeds back to accelerate the input. That's exponential growth. But the same mechanism works in reverse. When people start leaving, more people leave. The exodus accelerates. This is why businesses don't die slowly. They collapse. Think about the last time you saw a restaurant go under. It probably didn't gradually decline over years. More likely it was packed 1 month and empty 3 months later. Why? Negative feedback loops. A few bad reviews led to fewer customers. Fewer customers meant less revenue. Less revenue meant cutting staff and quality. Lower quality meant worse reviews. Worse reviews meant even fewer customers. The loop accelerated the decline until collapse became inevitable. Stock prices are heavily influenced by stock prices themselves. If a stock is rising, more people buy it, which makes it rise more. This explains bubbles. Bitcoin in 2017. The dot-com boom in 1999. Housing in 2006. Same mechanism every time. Price rises create buying pressure. Buying pressure creates price rises. The feedback loop disconnects price from underlying value until the bubble bursts. In business, customer results create feedback loops. Happy customers tell others, which brings more customers, who tell others. Success breeds success. This is why early customer experience is critical. If you nail it for the first 100 customers, they become your sales force. They generate testimonials that close skeptical prospects. They provide referrals that come pre-sold. They create word of mouth that attracts people you could never reach with advertising. Understanding feedback helps you engineer growth. Their success creates your growth through the feedback mechanism. You're not just delivering value to customers. You're creating a self-reinforcing cycle where customer success generates more customers who generate more success. Feedback loops mean small initial differences compound dramatically. This is why the rich get richer. They start with slightly more capital, which generates slightly more returns, which becomes more capital. The gap widens exponentially, not linearly, exponentially. That's the key difference most people miss. Most entrepreneurs treat customer support as an afterthought. They farm it out overseas for $500 per month. And this is classic component thinking. You're viewing support as disconnected from sales when they're deeply interconnected. Poor support creates unhappy customers who won't buy again. Since most businesses sell multiple things over time, damaging the relationship with poor support directly reduces future revenue. You just destroyed your customer lifetime value to save a few $100. But here's what's even worse. You destroyed referral potential. An unhappy customer doesn't just stop buying. They tell 10 people not to buy. They leave 1-star reviews that kill conversions. They respond negatively when your brand comes up in conversations. One bad support experience can cost you thousands in lost revenue. Now the landing page trap. Marketers celebrate going from 15% to 40% opt-in rate without checking what happened downstream. You can improve a metric while hurting the business. Higher opt-in rates often mean lower quality leads, so you're attracting people less likely to buy. You improved the metric. You destroyed the business. A guy named Fred improved his landing page conversion from 18% to 40% and hurt sales. The component improved. The system deteriorated. His sales team spent twice as much time on the phone talking to tire kickers who never bought. His cost per customer acquisition went up even though his cost per lead went down. His overall profitability collapsed even though his marketing metrics looked better. Systems thinkers measure at the end of the machine. Cost per acquisition and ROI are what matter. Most people are optimizing intermediate metrics while their company slowly dies. Stop optimizing parts. Start measuring wholes. Normal people want to control everything tightly, and in doing so, they kill the very thing that could make them wealthy. Emergence is complex behavior arising from simple rules. Bird flocking demonstrates this. Beautiful formations come from one simple rule. Don't collide. No central authority. Just simple rules creating complex order. In business, you don't need to control everything. Set simple rules, then let emergence happen. Telling everyone to pick the same niche is silly. When a guy named Fred stopped prescribing niches, amazing things emerged. Porn addiction consulting, irritable bowel syndrome coaching, unique, profitable niches he never imagined. Emergence creates diversity and uniqueness. Society that told everyone to become lawyers and accountants. Now there are too many. The market is saturated. Meanwhile, tradespeople earn more because there's a massive shortage. Siloing. Everyone was forced down the same path. If you teach everyone the same tactic, the tactic stops working. Emergence requires trusting the process. Trust emergence. Stop controlling. Test systems at small scale first. If $1,000 produces $2,000 or more at small scale, scale is justified. Scaling a broken system just creates bigger losses faster. Scaling means increasing inputs to a proven system. That's it. No trick. No hack. If it's true at small scale, it should be true at large scale. Systems that work maintain their ratios as volume increases. There's no magic in scaling. The secret is having a system that works and then increasing inputs. Magic is just things people don't understand. Monitor environmental factors while scaling. What works at small scale might hit constraints at large scale. Scale gradually while monitoring outputs. This is how you go from $1,000 to $100,000 to $20,000 per day. Not magic. Mechanics. When most people cannot see what systems thinkers see, entire populations miss opportunities that could transform their lives. This is why your parents stayed broke. Why entire communities are trapped in cycles of economic struggle. Component thinkers remain stuck in low-value work because they can't see how different parts of their life interconnect. Negative feedback loops destroy entire communities. Poor education leads to poor jobs. Poor jobs lead to poor neighborhoods. Poor neighborhoods lead to worse education. The loop reinforces itself. Millions harm themselves through poor system understanding. They damage customer relationships. They optimize wrong metrics. It's self-sabotage at scale. Those who understand scaling mechanics build generational wealth, while those who don't remain trapped trading time for money. But here's the hope. Systems thinking can be learned and provides immediate results. By training yourself to ask questions about inputs, outputs, processes, feedback, and environment, you develop the same perceptual framework billionaires use. It's available to you right now. Once learned, it transforms how you navigate all domains of life. Relationships, health, career, everything. By understanding that you don't need to control everything, you escape the exhaustion of micromanagement and discover unique paths to success. The fundamental message to your future self is this. Becoming a systems thinker is like putting on glasses after being blind. The framework exists, it's learnable. And it genuinely changes what you can see and achieve. You're not lacking talent. You're not lacking intelligence. You're lacking perception. And perception can be trained. This is how you catch up. By seeing what billionaires see, by thinking how billionaires think, by understanding the invisible architecture of wealth creation, and that's been right in front of you this entire time. The glasses are available. Your future self is waiting for you to put them on. Do it now.